Hello, hello. I am back with this week's news, and I'm going to do something different today. We are going to look at some studies, ideas, articles, news that are a little bit different than in the past. Some branding things, some, of course, we're going to talk about TikTok, and of course, we're going to talk about Twitter because Musk is at it again. But a lot of what we're going to talk about today, I hope, will just get you thinking, maybe give you a few new and different ideas than the typical, oh, what are we going to do on Facebook and Instagram? What are we going to put on our blog? Oh, YouTube marketing. No, today we're going to think differently. So let me dive in because we have quite a bit to cover. We are going to look at a study that shows us how to punch up your visuals, particularly for spaces like Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram stories and reels. I'm going to start every week to talk about a social network or an online community that you may not know of that you should know about. And today I'm featuring FaZe Clan. And you really want to hear about this because these communities are often ignored by most advertisers, by most brands. Big brands may enter partnerships with them, but they are spaces that really set the tone for what we should expect future marketing to look like. As the social networks are losing some of their traction, especially the big ones like Facebook, and who knows what's going to happen with Twitter. We should start looking at smaller communities, smaller social networks, but that have raving fans. And FaZe is one of those. So let's start talking about the power of partnership. A lot of times brands ask me, what else can I do to grow my social network? What types of campaigns should we do? And most people will say influencer marketing right off the bat. Influencer marketing is what you should do. My answer is a little bit different. The best thing you can do is partnerships with other brands, partnerships with brands that aren't competing with you, are not doing what you're doing, but have a similar audience. And it's just simple math, right? You bring your networks together, you both have access to a much wider audience, and you will have access in a more targeted way. And since people who follow brands typically follow brands because they are big fans, or maybe they're looking for discounts or news, but they are more tuned in and oftentimes more open to those partnerships than the followers of influencers may be. That's just my 2 cents. If you disagree or agree, or you have something to add to that, please drop it in the comments. But yes, partnerships is what I think can bring in a lot of value. And here are some examples that I wanted to share with you today. First, Jenny's. Jenny's is partnering with Nationwide Children's Hospital. They are looking to break stigmas around children's mental health alongside a new flavor of ice cream. Oh, everybody's favorites, or maybe not, Ted Lasso and Shutterfly. So Warner Brothers is partnering with Shutterfly to release a Ted Lasso themed personalized gifts and stationery collection. I don't know if this is going to bring Shutterfly back, but I had kind of forgotten about them until I saw this partnership. And Ghost partnering with Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Ghost is a lifestyle sports brand, a nutrition brand, and they are creating a unique line of supplements with a turtle ninja theme. Now, Ghost, when I saw this about Ghost, it made me think that they also partner with FaZe Clan. I told you that I was going to speak about today, but that's what triggered the idea of that. And another piece of news I saw that DoorDash is partnering with FaZe Clan. So what is FaZe Clan? Well, this is what one of their fans say, that they're like rock stars. They have great followings. They influence kids. That's what they do. FaZe Clan started about maybe 10 years ago, and they were a gaming YouTube channel that became very, very popular very fast. And then it evolved into what we know as FaZe Clan today, which is an esports community. Um, they say that they are one of the world's most prominent and influential gaming organizations. They're known for disruptive original content, hyper engaged global fan base of over 510 million combined across all social platforms. Now, smart brands, progressive brands know that partnerships are good for them. And they also know that these kinds of partnerships that that can bring them in the midst of a community are also incredibly valuable. Now, at the beginning, social networks were so popular because they provided people a space to create communities, to feel closer with people with shared interests in an online space. Over time, social networks have evolved to where they became advertising grounds and so on. So a lot of the communities that evolved on these platforms at one point in time spun off into other formats, into communities that may be hosted around a website or have a central location as a website, and then their fans are communicating through your standard social networks. So FaZe Clan is one of those. And they have a community of raving fans. So brands know that if they go there and they participate in those communities, they are reaching people who are a lot more invested, are a lot more tuned in to what's happening in that community. And we all want an audience that pays attention. A lot what we're experiencing now on social networks is that people are just scrolling through. They're overwhelmed with content. They may have a love-hate relationship with those social networks. Whereas in a place like FaZe, people are there because they're really, really into it. And also, that's a younger audience. When we look at the future of commerce, the young audience of today are future buyers. So we'd better pay attention now to how they're behaving, where they're spending their time. And this is something that I always say is we need to give people what they want, where they want it, how they want it. And the younger generation are consuming content a little bit differently than the Facebook generation. And we need to learn about it and go where they are and participate in things in the way that they like it. So next week, I'm going to bring you another online community that you should be a part of or that you should check out that you may not know about. But if you know of a community like that you'd like featured, let me know in the comments. All right, moving on. TikTok and Foursquare. TikTok is partnering with Foursquare to bring on better attribution reporting. So if you run an ad on TikTok and you have a physical store location, how can you know that people who are seeing the ad are actually coming to your store? So TikTok is going to try to build in with Foursquare that feature, which is basically a geofencing and analytics feature. Now, Facebook has the technology. And what's interesting about how Facebook does it is that last year was announced that, well, it was leaked that they are starting to use devices, accelerometers to track people, which is really creepy. So about a year ago or so, Apple and AT&T started to kill Facebook's ability to track people. Even if you opted in for your location to be shared, they tried to make that impossible. Well, Facebook found a workaround to this. And so even if you turn off your location tracking, they can still track where you are. So as part of their Facebook advertising, one of the Facebook advertising goals is store traffic. There's a store traffic objective when you set up your ads. So theoretically, that objective is able to geofence, so serve ads to people when they're close to your location, but also provide tracking data. They can tell you an estimated number of people who went to the store because they saw your ads. Unfortunately, that because of the technology they're using, that data is not that accurate. So they're using statistical modeling to estimate the results of your advertising. So TikTok is trying to introduce something similar, but in partnership with Foursquare instead of developing their own tracking. So yes, the social networks will track you even if you try to stop them from doing so. The only option you have is to delete them from your app or never use them. And honestly, whenever people bring this up, whenever people say, well, are people going to abandon Facebook because of this? No, they're not. It has been proven and shown that no matter how creepy it gets, for some reason, we still stay on Facebook. All right. News about this comes from a study, and I want to share this because I get a lot of questions about how can I make my ads, my videos, and my pictures better, whatever that means. And I always ask, well, what are you looking to accomplish? So let's say that we want to get more views, or we want people to swipe slower, to not abandon viewing our ad, or to stay longer in our ad, or to, sorry, I'm knocking things around here. Whatever results you're looking to accomplish. Well, somebody's done a study on this because I don't know the answer. I can't tell you if more text is better than less text. I depend on some companies who have massive amounts of data and can tell us what's up. So VidMob analyzed over 14,000 snaps. But although it was done on Snap, I think it applies to every medium like that. So we better pay attention. They use 3 verticals: financial services, CPG, and entertainment. Oh, hi, Mimi. And here are some of the takeaways. Stating your name early and making it stand out with high contrast. Having a call to action up front. So brand name immediately, have a call to action up front. This is an interesting one because calls to action, usually we're typically trying to put them at the end or put them throughout a video. In YouTube, you can put links on your video. A lot of times YouTubers, like I may be doing through this video, will ask you to like it, follow us, or in my case, go to the newsletter that I will publish after this, because I will put the notes and all the sources in that newsletter. And because I'm packing so much detailed information here today, you may want to take a look at that. So we're used to peppering our calls to action throughout or putting them at the end, but these new formats are so short. So what this data is telling us that you want to put your name up front, your call to action up front. We're also learning from the study that if your text is less than 5% of your screen, you're going to get a view rate that's 175% higher than if you have more than 5% of your screen be filled with text. So sounds like the magic number there is to have less than 5% of your screen with text. Be purposeful with text. They say that the view rate was 17% higher when 175% higher when it took up less than 5%, and high contrast videos had a 15% higher swipe rate. So high contrast videos are when either the colors are stronger, when if you have an image with your brand, make it stand out. So you can see in here what those are. So be bold, present your brand and your calls to action at the beginning. Use high contrast, use bold colors and lighting, and make your images stand out. The centerpiece of your video or of your image stand out from the background. Stand out, be bold. So it's rare that we see studies like that. So I was really happy to find this, and I will put these screenshots and the takeaways and links So you can read all 3 verticals. I'll put those in the newsletter that I'll publish after this. All right, let's go. Let's go to Twitter and Elon Musk. There's no end to that drama. So this morning, he probably woke up and he said, what can I do today to ruin the day for Twitter stockholders? So he tweeted this morning that the Twitter deal is temporarily on hold, pending details supporting calculation that spam fake accounts do indeed represent less than 5% of users. And as a result, immediately the Twitter stock dropped by 20%. So Elon Musk went back to Twitter to tweet that he's still committed to this, and the stock recovered a little bit. But he just cannot stop himself from tweeting instead of making official filings. I saw a quote from a Webbush analyst who said, the nature of Musk creating so much uncertainty in a tweet and not in a filing is very troubling to us and the street, and now sends this whole deal into a circus show with many questions and no concrete answers as to the path of this deal going forward. At the same time, on Thursday, Twitter filed 2 of their senior executives and announced a pause in hiring and backfilling, which leads me to the next piece of news, Musk's Twitter goals. So a pitch deck was leaked to the New York Times last week. And in this deck, Musk apparently presented his goals to the investors, and they were pretty big. And here's some of them. He wants to increase, or his goal is to increase Twitter fan base to 600 million by 2025 and 931 million by 2028. As of December of last year, Twitter had about 219 million users. Here's a chart for how Twitter user growth has been. At this rate, Elon Musk is not going to meet these goals. But he has other plans in mind. So let's go through some of them. He wants to increase annual revenue by 26.4 to 26.4 billion by 2028, which is up. Last year was about 5 billion. So you do the math there. It's a massive increase, but he's got 6 years to do it. Reduce ad revenue dependency to 45% of revenue from 80% in 2020. This is a big one. So to go from 80% of your revenues coming from ads to 45% is a big deal. And that implies that he's going to look into other ways to make money. And one of those, there's a mention in this deck of a product X. This mysterious product X will gain, according to his goals, 104 million subscribers, which the New York Times speculates this is a paid subscription-based ad-free Twitter. And another goal is another disclosure there is that they will cut around 8,000 people next year. 1,000 people, not 8,000. They will cut around 1,000 people over the next year before adding about 2,700 new employees by 2025. So clearly that has begun. As I said, Twitter has now is holding hiring or backfilling roles and fired, not laid off, fired 2 of their top executives. Last but not least, a big question that Donald Trump not only had, but he put into action. Can you sue the social networks if you get banned and to get your account back? Well, Donald Trump's attempt to overturn Twitter's ban has failed after a San Francisco federal district judge dismissed the case. The judge noted that Twitter is a private company and that the First Amendment applies only to governmental abridgments of speech and not to alleged ones by private companies. But Trump could move to Texas because last week, a federal court of appeal reinstated a law that allows citizens to sue social media companies for what they perceived a politically motivated ban. So And in Texas, he may be able to sue Twitter for the ban if he can prove that their ban was politically motivated. At the same time, he shouldn't move to Florida because a district court struck down a similar law attempted in Florida last month. So that's the big news of the week. More detail in the newsletter that I will publish after this. I was a little slower this week than I normally am at bringing this stuff to you. It made me think a lot. Reading the TikTok news made me think about tracking and how we're being tracked, observed everywhere we go. It reminded me of the Facebook tracking story from last year. And the fact that I never deleted Facebook off my phone, despite knowing that that I don't have that much privacy as long as it's on there. This news about being able to sue social networks was interesting to me. Thinking about partnerships and online communities, I think it should give us all pause. I think all strategies should have more partnerships incorporated into them, should have more attention to some alternate social networks. There's, for example, House, if you're in construction, interior design, even art, and so on, that we often forget about. So as we go every week, I'll try to bring a different social network or online community to your attention and talk more about who they are and what they do. More about FaZe in the newsletter, so give that a read. And I'm sorry I was lower key this week, but I will make sure to bring you back news next week, a little bit faster and maybe simpler stuff. And maybe Musk will slow down on his toying around with Twitter and the stakeholders. I will see you back here next week.